Let's start the podcast. Your average fight fan.
All right. Welcome to episode 3. UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Volkov. I'm your host, Juan. Welcome to the podcast. All right, let's get right into it. Last night was an interesting card. I liked it. I enjoyed watching the card. I thought it was better than expected. On paper, it didn't seem great. It's not a pay-per-view card. It's not a card that maybe the average fan wasn't going to watch, but I'm not. I guess I kind of am the average fan, but I'm a little bit more than the average fan. I'm a little bit obsessed with the sport, so I try to watch everything that UFC puts out, every MMA fight that I can. So let's get right into these early prelims. We had Austin "Thud" Hubbard with an 11-4 record, 1-2 in the UFC, taking on Max Rochoff. Max was undefeated. He was 5-0. He was putting that undefeated record on the line. This was his UFC debut. He's fought in other organizations, smaller, like Titan FC. Hubbard was the plus 150 underdog in this one. He stood 5'10", or he stands 5'10", and he had a 60% takedown accuracy with pretty decent takedown defense. So, from his 11 wins, 4 of them came by knockout or TKO, and 2 came by submission. Max was the actually minus 180 favorite in this one. Had a 3-inch height advantage at 6'1". The interesting thing about him is that all of his 5 wins came by submission. So obviously he likes to take it to the ground. It seemed like a classic striker versus grappler. I wanted to see if Hubbard, with his takedown defense, could keep the fight standing, or if Max could get it to the ground and show his submission skills, which I would imagine was his fight strategy to begin with. So everybody has a game plan. Well, in the end, it was a great fight for Hubbard, as he put it to Max in the first 2 rounds. And in between rounds 2 and 3, Max Roche, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Is it Roshkov? I think it's Roshkov. He quit on the stool. He kept saying to his coach, I don't have it. And his coach was trying to psych him into getting back into the fight by saying, no, don't say that. You're going to get back out there. You're a fucking champion. Stop saying that. You're a fucking champion. But when the ref asked Max if he wanted to continue, Max said no. And that was it. It was a TKO victory for Austin Hubbard because Max didn't want to come out for round 3. So congratulations to Austin Hubbard on that one. Opening the prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus. The first fight the first fight for them was the 37-year-old Roxanne, the Happy Warrior Modafferi, as a slight favorite at minus 125, taking on the 36-year-old Lauren Lucky Murphy at minus 105. At this age, it would seem that both fighters on the back 9 of their careers, I don't want to be rude, but realistically, they're getting up there. But realistically, in today's world, with boxers and MMA fighters staying in the game longer and longer, you really don't know. So, if it is the case, hopefully they stay in the game longer. But if not, if they're getting up there, then it's okay. It's time to go. It's time to go. They know better than anybody when it's time to go. So, if they're ready to go, I applaud them for their career. If not, let's go. Let's keep it going. And anyway, Roxanne with a record of 24-16. So if you add that up, this would have made her 41st professional bout. Man, she's got experience. Ton of experience. She has 17 combined fights between Strikeforce, Invicta, and the UFC. She has lost. Obviously she has lost, but her losses, most of them were by decision. Only 1 was by knockout, and 3 were submission. All of the others have come by unanimous decision. She's a very durable fighter. She also did have 4 wins by knockout and 5 by submission. You know, MMA media always like to say that styles make fights. I think with 40 pro fights, she's just about seen every style out there. Her last 2 victories are against Macy Barber and Antonia Shevchenko. Antonia is the sister of Valentina Shevchenko, who is the current champ at 125 pounds. At the other side of the cage was Lauren Murphy. She's a year younger, but nowhere near as many fights. You know, I don't know how many, I'm not sure how long she's been fighting MMA, but nowhere near as long as Modafferi. Her only 4 losses have also come by decision. Never been stopped. Very, very durable. Very tough girl. If you want to look back at her losses, they've been to some really, really tough girls. She lost to Sarah McMahon. She lost to Liz Carmouche, who is a really tough wrestler, fought for the inaugural women's UFC world title against Ronda Rousey when there was only 1 weight class. She almost won. She almost beat Ronda Rousey by rear naked choke. Tough girl. She also fought Caitlin Chukagian, and she recently fought Caitlin fought recently for the 125-pound title, and she also fought Sijara Eubanks. All these girls are very good fighters. You know, this was a very underrated fight. I was kind of pumped for it. It's funny because when women were first introduced to the UFC, before the first fight, which made Ronda Rousey famous, I would say to myself, why would somebody want to see women punch each other in the face? I don't understand it. Why would somebody do this? Why would anybody want to watch this? You know, and then Ronda goes out, wins the title, becomes a megastar, and the rest is history. Now, there's times when female fighters put on better fights than the men. You know, a good example of that is Amanda Nunes. Man, is she talented. It's almost like she needed to beat Ronda, then Cyborg, winning and holding both titles simultaneously, and then defending both belts to kind of show just how talented she really is. My opinion, without a doubt, she's the female GOAT. Just think this for a second. And I know, I understand, Amanda has nothing to do with this card, but just think about this. She's finished the 3 most famous stars in female MMA. She chokes out Miesha Tate to win the title at 135 pounds. She then defends that title by knocking out Ronda Rousey in less than a minute, then moves up to 145 pounds, challenging the most feared female fighter ever, knocks her out. Cyborg knocks her out in less than a minute. I mean, she's the GOAT. There's no comparison. She's the GOAT. Anyway, sorry, that was a little rant there. Anyway, so back to the card. Murphy was, in my opinion, dominant in all 3 rounds. She, so 2 of the judges had her winning 2 of the 3 rounds, but they all agreed that she did win, and they gave her the victory, making her victory last night her 3rd straight in a row inside the octagon. So good for her. Congratulations to Lauren. The next fight after that was at lightweight. We were supposed to see Matt Steamroller Frivola. Sorry. Matt Steamroller Frivola. I love these nicknames. Matched up against Frank the Crank Camacho. I had a lot to say about this fight. You know, about the guys, both these guys. They were both strikers. They land a ton of significant strikes. They absorb also a ton of significant strikes. Their percentages were outrageous. On paper, it seemed like a really, really scrappy, crazy fight. That all went out the window when Matt Frivola's teammate, Billy Quarantino, he tested positive for COVID. So Frivola was then pulled from the card, replaced by a gentleman named Justin James. So again, last week we had the same thing. Somebody was replaced last minute, and again he was also from Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. So this time Justin James, again, Extreme Couture from Las Vegas. These guys are, I'm telling you, man, they train at this gym. They got excellent training partners. They got excellent coaches. They are always ready to go. So it seems like Dana knows this. Dana has their phone number on speed dial and just says, hey, you got any guys waiting on the line? Yes, here you go. Boom, Justin James steps in. But I just wanted to note that Frivola, you know, before he was taken off the card, he He fought in the Tuesday Night Contender Series, performed well, was given a contract to move up to the big show in the UFC. And he's not the only one. They've done an excellent job in finding talent for that show and have gotten some really good quality guys emerge into the UFC from that show. A notable name that you probably have now heard many times is ex-NFL All-Pro defensive end turned heavyweight prospect, the very controversial Greg Hardy. You can say what you want about his past, but the man can fight. You cannot take that away from him. Currently, the man can fight. Another rising star from the show is Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm sure you've heard the name. Many believe, myself included, that he's going to be one of the big faces and the stars coming into the UFC going forward. So, you know, they're doing a real good job with that show. If you want to catch it, it's on Tuesday nights. I want to say it's on Fight Pass. But as you can imagine, from being last minute replacement, there's not much you can tell. You know, you have to kind of do research on Justin James. There's not much we know about him except that he trains with these awesome guys at Extreme Couture. He was bringing a 15-4 pro record, and most likely he was not really prepared to go 3 rounds. You know, I mean, as if he had a full training camp, which he probably didn't. But he did have a pretty decent finishing rate. 12 of all of his 15 wins have come by way of knockout or TKO or submission. Either way, I still think that this was a pretty big step up in competition for him, fighting Camacho. Speaking of Camacho, his record was a very impressive 22-8, with 17 of his wins coming by way of knockout or TKO. That being said, Frank was the favorite here at minus 350, making Justin James, of course, like I said, not much known about him. He was the underdog at plus 265. Frank the Crank missed weight, and by which forfeiting 30% of his purse to Justin. Not the first time we're hearing about this. This is the third card in a row where somebody misses weight. So everything I just said about this fight took longer than this fight. If you saw the fight, you know it literally ended in 20 seconds. So it was a knockout win for Justin James. Not the best night for Camacho. Misses weight, gets knocked out, loses 30% of his purse. Not the best night. I'm sure he'll come back stronger. I'm sure he will go back to the drawing board and do what he needs to do to get better. With that record, he'll figure it out. He's a good dude. But yeah, congratulations to Justin James, man. Big victory. UFC debut comes out, boom, 20-second knockout. Very cool. Very cool. Hopefully we'll see him again soon. Yeah, following that fight, we had a pretty good fight between Cast Iron Casey and Jillian the Savage Robertson. I love these nicknames. Courtney was bringing a record of 9-7, and Jillian was bringing a record of 7-4. There really was no favorite going into this fight since Vegas had them almost identical in the odds. Courtney was at minus 110, and Jillian was at minus 120. So it was pretty equal there. But I got to be honest, it was mostly Jillian's fight. She was the aggressor. She took control early. She was able to secure the takedowns. She was pretty dominant. She was able to control. Courtney. And these takedowns led to a rear naked choke, and she was able to get that rear naked choke late in the 3rd round. So congratulations to her. It's a big victory over a pretty durable Courtney Casey. So congratulations to Jillian for the victory. Right after that, we saw Marc-Andre Barriault, and I apologize if I'm saying that last name wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Barriault, but let's just say Marc-Andre. He got a 2nd round TKO finish over Oscar Pihota. So congratulations to Marc-Andre. Moving right along into these prelims. We had Raquel Pennington's fiance, which is kind of cool if you think about it. They were fighting on the same card. Flew in together, stayed together at the hotel, and then we're fighting on the same card. That's pretty awesome. Good for them. But yeah, Raquel Pennington's fiance is the number 11 ranked Tisha the Tiny Tornado Torres. Her. They're from, and when I say there, I mean Tisha's family. Tisha's family is from here, from Coconut Creek. I live in Florida myself. I live in Coconut Creek, Florida. They're from this area. Tisha used to train here in the ATT, and then I think I want to say they live in Colorado Springs, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive that they train in Colorado, which is good for them. They're training in altitude, so good for them. They're training together. Cool. But yeah, she was taking on Brianna, the Bull Van Buren, who was unranked. Vegas had Van Buren as the favorite, coming in at minus 225 with a record of 9-2. Torres came in at plus 175, sporting a 10-5 record. I would have to guess that the odds are based on the fact that Tisha was coming off 4 straight losses. That usually sways the odds not in your favor. I mean, for obvious reasons, if you have 2 straight losses, if you have 3 straight, I mean, in this case, she had 4 straight losses. It doesn't look good for the odds. That's, even if you're, I don't know, Michael Jordan facing, I mean, pick a name. If Michael Jordan was a fighter and he had 4 straight losses, it just doesn't look good. So in this case, that's why I'm assuming she was the underdog here. But those 4 losses were, I mean, you got to think about, she's fighting the absolute best in the division. She lost to Jessica Andrade, former champ. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champ. And then she lost to Weili Zhang, current champ. Literally the current champ and 2 former champs in the division. She may be tiny, but she's a really tough girl. Fighting all those monsters and has never been stopped. That's impressive. She's going against these absolute beasts in the division, and she's never been stopped. These fights went to decision. So, same thing for Van Buren. 2 losses, both by decision. So good for them. They're both tough. I got to be honest. Looking through Van Buren's record, though, I think Torres has fought way better competition in her career, and I think that maybe that was probably the difference in this fight. The level of opponents that Tisha's fought compared to the level of competition that Van Buren's fought. I think that's what gave her the edge, the experience, the top competition that she's fought, and especially recently. Her last, 3 fights or 4 fights were against really, really top competition. I think that's what gave her the edge. All 3 judges had it the same. They all had it 30-27, 3 rounds to none for the Tiny Tornado Torres. So congratulations to Tisha. This is a big victory for her, especially when you have to consider 4 losses in a row. You're talking about your job now. You're talking about your career. You're talking about being cut from the UFC, having to look for other opportunities in other organizations. It's tough. It's very, very tough when you're in that situation. So I'm glad that she got the win. Congratulations again to Tisha. Closing out the prelims was a pretty good scrap. I like this fight a lot, actually. The 38-year-old veteran, Clay the Carpenter Guida. I've always liked this guy. He's such high energy, man. He's everywhere. He's going crazy. He's jumping around. He's taking people down. He's punching. I've always liked his energy. I've always liked his fighting style. But yeah, he's got 54 MMA fights. He's been in the UFC since 2006. He was bringing his record of 35-19 against, Bobby Green is a loudmouth. I didn't want to say it, but he's a loudmouth. He can talk shit, but he can back it up. And he can also be a super nice guy at the same time. He can be a dick, but he can also be a super nice guy. After the fight, he mentioned something about, Black Lives Matter and, just the whole madness that's been going on for the past couple of weeks. And, he mentioned that he was raised by foster parents. He actually brought his dad out. And it looked like, I wasn't 100% sure, but it looked like it was one of his trainers or maybe one of his cornermen who was there with him. And he's like, come here, Dad. And he was a white guy. And he goes, in my family, there's no color. In my family, you don't beat hate with hate, you beat hate with love. And in this family, I've always had love. And it was actually a really cool moment to show, to see a very successful black athlete, talk about having a white father, not having, I don't know if he didn't meet his parents or just not being able to grow up with your biological parents. He was, like I said, raised in foster care, and it was a really cool moment to see him, say, I love this guy, he's my dad, blah, 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 and it's a white guy. You know what I mean? That was a cool moment. But yeah, so anyway, Bobby Green's record is 24-10. Like I said before, he is a loudmouth. He's a loudmouth inside the cage. He's a loudmouth outside the cage. He likes to talk shit while he's fighting, which is, sometimes it works. Sometimes it gets to their opponents. But there's times where he could be a little cocky, times where he could be a little arrogant, but he backs it up. He's not a slouch. 24 wins is 24 wins. No matter how you add up those wins, a W is a W. So, but again, so neither of these guys are ranked. Both have fought pretty high competition, and they've also both lost to some of the guys that are currently in the top 10. I'm not surprised that Vegas had Clay Guida as the underdog here, since he was moving up in weight to 155 pounds. They had him at a plus 205. Bobby Green was the favorite at minus 265. If you know MMA and you know Clay Guida, you know that he's got an endless gas tank. The guy never gets tired. Like I said before, he jumps around all the time. He never stops moving. He never stays still. And why that type of strategy can sometimes be too much for other fighters, it wasn't the case this time. It's not always the right strategy, hence the 19 losses. But in this particular case, I'll get to that in a second. He does have a wrestling base. He is a complete mixed martial artist. He likes to mix in takedowns and strikes. He likes to level change. He likes to keep his opponent guessing. But I think the moving up in weight against a bigger guy, it makes sense why he would not be favored in this one. Even though he's fought at 55 before, I just feel like he's more comfortable and he can control the pace better at 45. He was able to get he was able to start the fight the way that most of us know he's capable of doing, but in the end, Bobby Green was just too fast. He was too elusive, and he was countering a lot of Guida's shots. Even though Clay the Carpenter Guida did succeed in taking Bobby Green down, I don't think it just was enough. It wasn't enough. He was able to outstrike him in every round and managed to get the victory via unanimous decision. So congratulations to Bobby Green on that one. Big victory for him. And like I said, it was cool to see that that moment with his father. That was really cool. So again, congratulations to him. All right, moving on. This was opening the main card. We had Jim A10 Miller, another legend in the sport, who just tied actually Cowboy Cerrone's record for the most fights in UFC history. This was his 35th bout for the promotion, so that's pretty awesome. He was going up against 6'2" Roosevelt the Predator Roberts. That's a pretty cool nickname, the Predator. 6'2", I mean, he's a big dude. Makes sense. Miller brought a record of 31-14, again in the UFC forever, while Roberts brought a 10-1 record to the brawl. Looking through Roberts' record, though, I didn't see anyone with the pedigree, the skill set, or the experience that Jim Miller brings. So in my opinion, Jim Miller was the most difficult fight of Roberts' fairly short career. So, he's only been fighting professionally since 2015. I think Jim Miller's been fighting since, early 2000s or something like that. So it's, he's got a ton of experience. But it's not unusual that the number in the record, in this case, Roberts 10-1, that number can usually sway the odds. And they had Roberts as the favorite at minus 250. They had Jim Miller at plus 195. I got to be honest, they had it really wrong on this one. Jim Miller looked like the A10 of old. I mean, this guy came out, he was aggressive from the start. He landed a quick takedown by timing it perfectly when Roberts threw a kick, caught the leg, secured the takedown, and ultimately led to a very high-level armbar. The fight was over pretty quickly. It gave Miller his 21st win, and this was actually his 14th first-round finish. This guy's definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame, for sure. UFC Hall of Famer. I'm not sure when he's going to retire, but when he does, mark my words, he's going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame. So, again, congratulations to Jim Miller. Absolute legend. I hope I can continue to watch him fight because I've always liked him. He's always been a super, super cool guy. And I like people like that. So again, congratulations to him. Next up, we had Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad, taking on Lyman Good. Bilal bringing an impressive 16-3 record to the welterweight bout, while Lyman also had a damn good record of 21-5. Bilal Muhammad was the favorite here at -130, but not by much. Lyman Good was even, meaning that there was no plus or minus odds for him. He was just zero. It was even. It was a pretty close fight. It could have gone either way. No matter which way the judges would have called it, I would have been okay with the outcome, honestly. Luckily for Bilal, though, they saw the victory 29-28 for the Palestinian-American. His parents are Palestinian. He was born in Chicago. So luckily for him, the judges saw it 29-28 for him. So congratulations to Bilal. That's a pretty cool name, Bilal. Remember the name, Muhammad? That's a cool nickname. As you can tell, I like these nicknames. I'm a fan. So again, congratulations to Bilal. That was a close fight. So that's a big victory for him. And yeah, that's it. That was a good fight. Rounding out the last three fights on the card, we had number 6 ranked Raquel Rocky Pennington. As I mentioned before, she is the fiance of Tecia Torres. She was bringing her 10-8 record, facing number 10 ranked Marion the Belizean Bruiser. That's an interesting one. The Belizean Bruiser, Marion Renault. She had a record of 9-5-1, so she had one draw in her MMA career. Listen, Raquel has fought just about all of the best fighters at 125 pounds. I mean, we're talking about Holly Holm, Irene Aldana, Jermaine Durandamy, Amanda Nunes for the title, Misha Tate, Jessica Andrade before she moved down 115 pounds to win the title, Kat Zingano. I mean, these are all... I mean, the list goes on and on. She is tough. And listen, she's trying to get back into title contention, so this is a good way to start. Fight a pretty durable Marion Renault. She was a kickboxer, or actually I want to say Muay Thai instead of kickboxing. There is a difference. I'm pretty sure she was a Muay Thai fighter prior to moving into MMA. So she's tough. You know, she's not young though. For the sport, she's not young. Marion Renault, at the age of 42, is coming off back-to-back losses. So, you know, you start to think about it. You're like, all right, she's 42. She's coming off back-to-back losses. She's got to be pretty close to the end of her career, right? I mean, I would think so. But like I said before, you never know it these days. Nonetheless, she's fought some pretty top-tier competition as well. Even though she's had a fairly short MMA career, she's fought Sarah McMahon, Beth Correa, Holly Holm, Jessica Andrade, Yana Kunitskaya. I apologize. Excuse me. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Kunitskaya just fought Cyborg for the title last year, or in 2018, I believe. And she also fought Kat Zingano as well. So Marion Renault has fought some pretty high-level competition as well. You know, two girls with experience in terms of who they fought and the level of competition they fought. This one was close in the odds too. They had Pennington as the slight favorite at -185, and they had Renault as the underdog at +150. So Pennington was the slight favorite there. I think the fight went how Raquel wanted it to go. Honestly, she was more aggressive. She dictated where the fight went most of the time, and she was able to control most of the exchanges. Don't get me wrong, Renault. Renault landed. She landed as well. She was able to connect. You know, she was aggressive sometimes, but I think that Raquel was more aggressive. So I think that's what won her the fight. Two judges had it 29-28, while the other judge had Raquel winning all 3 rounds. So it was a unanimous decision victory for Raquel Pennington. So congratulations to her. And if you remember what I said previously, her fiance had also won. And she was the underdog in that fight. So congratulations to the both of them. I'm sure they're celebrating together. It's a cool story when you can have, you know, 2 significant others in the same card and they both win. So congratulations to them. All right, the penultimate fight on the card, the co-main event. And in my opinion, bar none, the fight of the night. And even possibly could be in the conversation for fight of the year. This was a banger. You had the number 8 ranked and 35-year-old Josh Emmett taking on the number 10 ranked Shane the Hurricane Burgos. Josh Emmett, he's another one of these beasts who's got a high knockout TKO percentage. He hits hard. He's tough to take down. He's coming off back-to-back wins. Tough dude. He was bringing a record of 15-2, and he was trying to make it 3 in a row. Burgos was already on a 3-fight win streak, and he brought an impressive record of 13-1 to the bout. 10 of his 13 victories coming by way of stoppage, and his only loss was to Calvin Kattar. I think it was 2 years ago. If you don't know who Calvin Kattar is, look him up. Dude's a monster. He's got heavy hands. He's a contender now at 45. So if you don't know who he is, you should know who he is. Burgos was trying to make it 4 in a row. Obviously, that would have shot him up in the rankings. But the odds were plus 125 for Josh and minus 155 for Shane Burgos. So Burgos was the favorite, slightly, but the favorite. Understandably so, since the man averages over 7 significant strikes per minute. This was an absolute brawl. Burgos has a chin that is absolutely second to none. Josh Emmett hit this guy with some bombs, and Burgos was just walking through them. For the first 2 rounds, he just kept taking all these giant bombs that Josh Emmett was throwing at him. Unbelievable. Burgos has a chin I've never seen. This guy was coming forward with a crazy pace, also landing at a high output. It was a brawl. It was a banger. However, in the 3rd round, I think all the bombs that Burgos absorbed, they got to him. And his body just wasn't reacting the same anymore. Josh Emmett was able to get 2 knockdowns, which swayed the judges to score that round as a 10-8 round, ultimately giving the victory to Josh Emmett. But this was an unbelievable fight. Awesome fight. I got to be honest. I think this fight's going to definitely be in that vault that the UFC has. Sometimes they pull out and they say, hey, remember these awesome fights? This is going to be in that vault. Every once in a while you'll see the UFC puts on like best fights of the year or best knockouts, best this, best that. This is one of those fights that's going to be in that vault of, hey, check these out. UFC Fight Pass best fights of all time. I think this is going to be in there. This was a monster brawl. So again, congratulations to Josh Emmett. Huge victory for him. And like he said, he's 35, but he's still trying to go after that title. And he said, and I quote, "I will be champion." So, if he says it, who am I to say no? You're wrong. The man got it done. He beat a very, very, very tough guy in Shane Burgos. So hey, anything's possible, especially in the UFC. So again, congratulations to Josh Emmett. The very last fight, the main event, was Curtis Razor Blaydes putting his number 3 ranking and his 13-2 record on the line against the 6'7" Russian giant. This guy's huge. The number 7 ranked Alexander Volkov with a record of 31 wins and 7 losses. Look, I want to be honest. I know Curtis has been the favorite in most of his matchups, including this one. I feel like he's been underappreciated. He's flown under the radar. I don't know, man. I don't think he gets enough attention. This guy's beat every single person that he's fought besides one guy. He's got 10 of his 13 finishes, 10 of his 13 wins came by stoppage. He's beat every one of his opponents, except for one, Francis Ngannou. And he beat him twice. Francis Ngannou beat him twice, which is where his 2 losses come from. But you got to understand, Curtis Blaydes has beat Alistair Overeem, Alexei Oleinik, Mark Hunt, Junior Dos Santos, just to name a few. I mean, you're talking about top guys, and he's beat them all. He's got 10 finishes. He's only 29 years old. He gets better every time we see him in the octagon. I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't think he gets enough credit for all of his accolades. But then again, sometimes it is what it is. Sometimes they don't get the credit that they deserve. But look, standing across this guy was, like I said, the giant, Drago Volkov. Of course, the nickname comes from the very famous character in the movie Rocky IV, Ivan Drago, if you remember. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to go watch that series, all of them. But if you have seen it, then you remember Ivan Drago was this big, giant Russian guy that Rocky fought, and he didn't have many words in the film. But I remember him saying they would ask him about Rocky or about Apollo Creed, and he would say, "I must break him." And then they said, what's going to happen to him? And he would say, "If he dies, he dies." That was a good movie. And, of course, that's where the nickname Drago comes from. I like that nickname. It's cool. It brings back memories of a really cool time, when Rocky was the man and they built him a statue and everything else. So, yeah, I like that nickname. But anyway, so, again, Volkov's another one of these Russian guys who's fought everybody. The dude's got wins over very good competition. You're talking about he's beaten Greg Hardy, Fabricio Verdum, Stefan Struve, Roy Nelson, Brett Rogers. I mean, he's fought a lot of top guys. If you don't know who Brett Rogers is, I would look him up. He's another one of these legends. He's been in the fight game forever. But yeah, Ivan Drago, Alexander Volkov. He's fought a lot of people, good competition, and he's beat most of them. So, but like I mentioned before, Blaydes is usually the favorite in most of his fights, and that was the case in this one. He was the favorite at minus 400. I mean, that's a pretty big margin when you're talking about Volkov was a plus 300. So he was the heavy favorite in this fight. Going back to what I said before, remember what I said about Blaydes' accolades? Okay. This fight was kind of lackluster, but Curtis landed 14 takedowns. Let me say that again. 14 takedowns. He broke the record for takedowns in a single fight for the heavyweight division. Not only did he break the record, he landed 14 takedowns against the guy that has one of the highest takedown defense percentages in the UFC. This wasn't the most exciting fight, but it was a dominant win. And don't get me wrong, come the fourth round, Curtis Blaydes was exhausted. This man was visibly exhausted. But what did he do? He tried to strike with him. He tried to continue to dominate, even though his body was kind of saying, "Hey man, we need some rest here." Didn't matter. He still got the dominant win nonetheless. This victory, it's going to put him in line to fight for the title again. It just kind of depends on who the champ's going to be when he gets that shot again. Because, I mean, like I said before, he's lost twice to Francis Ngannou. And most likely Francis Ngannou is next in line for the title. So you got Stipe fighting Daniel Cormier. I think that's in August. And whatever happens there, I would have to think that if Stipe wins, Stipe is going to have a rematch against Francis Ngannou. However, if DC wins, I would think that the logical move for DC is to retire, vacate the title, and let Francis Ngannou fight Stipe for the vacant title. So, in my opinion, Blaydes is going to have to wait and hope, really hope, that Stipe beats Ngannou again. Because if he has to, if Ngannou wins the title, it's very unlikely that the UFC is going to make him fight again for the third time against a guy who's already beat him twice. So, like I said, he better be hoping and praying that Stipe is the champ when he gets that shot. So, but yeah, I like the card. It was a lot better than it seemed on paper. But I want to quickly and just briefly go over what's happening next week. I mean, this schedule is crazy schedule. You're talking about, I mean, geez, you're talking about some what, eight cards in the next month or the next, like 30 days. They got 8 cards coming. Unbelievable, crazy. The schedule at the UFC is, it's I'm telling you, man, the next 30 years. I'm not even sure how many days it is, but I think it's like a month. What's today? Today is June 21st. So not even a month. It's crazy. Well, no, actually, I'm lying. No, that's not true. It is. It's over a month. But anyway, let's just go over quickly what this next 8 cards or 9 cards, looks like. So, okay. So, the next fight that we have coming up is next week. That's June 27th. That's going to be at the Apex in the same place that this fight was fought, in Vegas. That's Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker. That is a crazy fight. That is going to be another one of these crazy fight of the night, possible fight of the year type fights. It's going to be madness. Right after that, I think 2 weeks after that, actually, it's going to be July 11th. That's when Fight Island kicks in. So now you're talking about they're going to fight like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 cards in a row from Fight Island, which is in Abu Dhabi. It's called Yaz Island. They're going to do a bunch of cards there, but they're kicking off Yaz Island or Fight Island, whatever you want to call it, with the craziest fight card that I think they could ever put on with this short notice type of atmosphere that we've been living in. I want to go over this. This is insane. First, I just want to go over the cards. Okay. So again, July 11th is Usman versus Burns for the welterweight title, and we'll go over the other title fights in that card. But 4 days after that, July 15th, you got Calvin Kattar taking on Dan Ige. 4 days after that, Saturday, July 18th, you got Figueiredo taking on Joseph Benavidez. A week after that, Saturday, July 25th, you got Robert Whittaker taking on Darren Till. Jesus, man, these cards are crazy. A week after that, on a Sunday, August 2nd, you have Holly Holm taking on Irene Aldana. We talked about both of these girls previously. They're both beasts. They're both top of the food chain fighters. Man, this is crazy. And then ending out this massive Fight Island, crazy month, Saturday, August 15th, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight strap. Crazy. It's going to be insane. But let me just go quickly back to the fight card for next weekend. We have, like I said before, Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker. And then that's the main event. The co-main is also a crazy fight. We have Mike Perry taking on Mickey Gall. I just want to go over quickly these 2 fights. Mickey Gall, decent striking, excellent ground game, brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Taking on Mike Perry. If you don't know Mike Perry, he's a crazy madman. He likes to stand and bang. He likes to throw elbows. He likes to throw nasty hooks. He's one of these guys that just never stops coming forward. But his ground game is his weakness. If you look at his record, he's got a ton of knockouts, but most of his losses come by either decision or submission. The one that comes to mind recently is he lost to Donald Cowboy Cerrone in the first round by armbar. So they have Mike Perry as the favorite here, and it's not surprising, only because he is a madman and he's crazy and he knocks people out. I don't know, man. I never pick winners or losers, but Mickey Gall could definitely win this fight. This is not an easy fight for either one of them, but he could win this fight. Mickey Gall could submit Mike Perry, so that's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a lot of shit talking because both these guys like to talk shit. They're both a little arrogant, but I like that fight, so that's going to be good. But man, Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's ranked number 5. Dustin Poirier is ranked number 3. Dustin Poirier is coming in as the favorite to this fight as of now. That might change. I don't know. Like I said before, that things change all the time, especially the odds. But this is a crazy fight. Dustin Poirier has some of the best striking in the business. Doesn't matter the weight class. This guy is a monster with his striking. He's beaten some really, really awesome guys. And Dan Hooker, man. Whew! Dan Hooker is long. He's rangy. He's strong. He knocks people out. He's good on the ground. Man, Dustin Poirier is also, I don't know if he's a black belt or a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I want to say he's a black belt, but I could be wrong on that one. But man, this is going to be an awesome fight. This is going to be an awesome fight. I'm pumped for this one. As you can tell, I'm pumped for this one, man. But yeah, so that's going to be a crazy fight. That's next week, Saturday, June 27th. And again, it's at the Apex in Vegas. The following week, UFC 251. This is a hell of a card. Woo! Man, I'm pumped for this crap. I love MMA, man. I'm sorry, but I love MMA. Again, this is Saturday, July 11th. This is, I believe, 3 weeks from today. Woo! You got Kamaru Usman in the main event taking on Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, if you recall, is coming off a crazy last, 4 or 5 months. He knocked out Damian Maia. Then he goes on and he beats Tyron Woodley to then call out the champ. And don't forget, they're training partners. They know each other very well. Gilbert Burns is an excellent, let me repeat that, excellent ground guy. This guy has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, super high level. He's also built knockout power. This is going to be a tough fight. Very tough fight. Now, keep in mind, Kamaru Usman, he calls himself the boogeyman. He's a problem for anybody. He even says it. He goes, I'm a problem. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough fight. I think Usman is taller. I want to say he's stronger. And if I'm not mistaken, he also has a reach advantage. So Kamaru definitely has the advantages coming in. I would imagine he is the favorite in this one. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure he is the favorite. So that's the main event. That's for the welterweight title. Co-main event, flyweight title. You have new champ, Alexander Volkanovski, who just dethroned Max Holloway, fighting guess who? Max Holloway. Some people consider him the best featherweight of all time. Some people consider him the second best featherweight of all time. In my opinion, he's an absolute monster. In my opinion, Alexander Volkanovski is an absolute monster as well. So, pumped for this fight too. I want to see what happens. This is a crazy fight with crazy implications, because if Alexander Volkanovski beats Max Holloway again, Max Holloway is now, in my opinion, stuck in limbo. Because what happens? He is now the number 2 guy. Technically number 1 because they don't count the champ as a number, but he's the number 2 guy below the champ. So he's kind of in that gatekeeper space where you can only fight guys below you. You can't fight guys above you because the guys above you is only one guy, the champ that beat you twice. So this is very important. If Max loses, he's stuck in limbo at 145. If he goes up to 55, which he did previously against Dustin Poirier, he kind of got his ass whooped a little bit. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of Max Holloway. I think he's an excellent fighter. But I don't like to see what happens to these guys when they get stuck in limbo. And it's happened to many guys. And it sucks, man. It really does suck, because you're talking about a guy who dominated the division for a long time, beat Jose Aldo twice. Jose Aldo was considered the best featherweight of all time for the longest time. This guy was undefeated for years. He comes in, knocks him out, takes the belt, rematches him, beats him faster the second time. Max Holloway is an absolute monster. He's actually, he's grown so much since, I remember his first fight in the UFC was actually against, or maybe not his first fight, but really beginning of his career, he fought Dustin Poirier. Super skinny kid, just lanky, tall, 5'11", super skinny at 45. Dustin Poirier submitted him with a triangle armbar. Back then he had no ground game. He was just getting into the fighting game. He was a good striker. Now he's an excellent striker and just got crazy takedown defense, and he can submit you. So, and then going back to Volkanovski. Volkanovski is an absolute beast. This guy used to he used to play rugby. He weighed 214 pounds. 214, playing rugby in Australia. He was like, oh, you know what? I think they call it, what do they call it? Australian rules or something like that they call it down there. He won that, was champ for that, and then, got to the point where he's like, I want to try something different. So he started training MMA. He dropped down from 214 pounds. He goes down to 145 pounds and starts fighting. He has a 21-1 record. He's now the champion at 145. That's insane. He's 31 years old or something like that. That's insane. That doesn't happen in real life. That's some video game shit. That doesn't happen in real life. But anyway, that's the co-main. Just before that, you got the bantamweight title on the line. You got the featherweight champion of the world, Jose Aldo, taking on the currently ranked number 3 bantamweight, Petr Yan, who many people say is the best in the division. That's we're gonna have to wait for that one. But that's another one that could have crazy implications, because if Jose Aldo loses, he's again stuck in that limbo phase where you can't fight anybody above you below you, because above you. Well, technically, he'd be number, what is he? He's number 6 right now. He's coming off a loss. Technically, he lost to a decision. So he's kind of stuck in that limbo phase where, you can't really fight for the title again. You're close to retirement. You're a legend. You dominated the featherweight division for so long. Now, because you lost, he was in that limbo phase against Max Holloway. He drops down a weight class, loses. He was supposed to fight for the title. It's just a crazy thing. But if Petr Yan wins, though, now you're talking about an awesome matchup against Aljamain Sterling. In my opinion, he's next in line. So, this is a really cool card, and then right before that, you're going to have Jessica Andrade, who's number 1 ranked, who actually just lost the title to Weili Zhang, fighting the girl she took the title from, number 2 ranked Rose Namajunas. That's going to be a crazy brawl too. And then right before that, you have Amanda Ribas taking on Paige Van Zandt. So that's a crazy, crazy card. I'm pumped, man. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be an awesome month. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have an awesome the rest of your weekend, even though it is Sunday night. I just want to say thanks again. I hopefully will be able to put this on Apple, Google, and Spotify. So thank you so much, and peace out, guys. Enjoy. I hope you like the podcast.
Your average fight fan.